Howdy spelunkers, you got your mining light hat and overalls ready? Because we're about to go mining. Now I'll admit this next part doesn't really have a connection to any one Australian thing. We have mining towns and there are fossils here, just like the rest of the world. But I really wanted a place to have these Pokemon shown. Welcome to Tectonium Plateau, a vast, honestly empty plateau for now. I mean, you can't even get on it at first, and seeing it from other vantages, it looks like a scarred desert plain on top. But where it really shines is below. Deep below. And down there, something is stirring. If we want to reclaim the Tectonium Mines and learn more about the past, we have to deal with a beast titan there. But to do it, we need some special equipment. The next Rotom form developed specifically for this challenge. So let's jump right into it. So you've got your mech that dashes and jumps, and your boat and sub. But it was hard to think of a vehicle for climbing. But I thought at this point, moving as fast as possible around the overworld is needed, and a continuous fast dash, as well as wall climbing both vertically and horizontally on walls, was a cool idea. So the Rotom Bike was born. The idea was the sort of main pod that had a general motorbike shape, with the windshield being the Rotom readout for the face, while the wheels themselves were sort of buzzsaws so they could easily slot themselves into walls through sheer force. I tried to keep the same motifs between all the Rotom forms, so that they look like they could all feasibly quick change between each other. And although the original Rotom loses a bit of its use, it still has precision double jumping and the Sonic Bombs ability, and we'll get something special in a later battle. So for typing, I was originally going to go for ground fighting, but forgive me, I chose bug fighting simply for the Kamen Rider reference, but maybe I'll change it back, who knows. Rotom, Rotobike build. Hibiscus Lab's greatest invention, a bug and fighting type. The cliffs of Astara proved quite difficult for the Rotom originally, and the destroyed minecart tracks of Tectonium meant this new form of Rotom had to be developed. Although not able to grab, carry or push anything, the Rotobike is built for pure speed, and the ability to cling to surfaces with its blade-like energy wheels. It has been entrusted to you and only you, knowing you are responsible enough to use it. Riding the Rotobike is quite easy thanks to the Rotom inhabiting it. Able to keep upright even on the sharpest turns, it is the epitome of safety for the rider. Although the ground it drives over does get rather ruined, especially on grass, it is said that this is only the beta version and upgrades could be installed to increase the speed and effectiveness of this form. This form of Rotom has the ability Speed Boost. So although you can enter Tectonia without the bike, once inside, that's when it becomes a bit clear why it's needed. Tectonium Mines is essentially a massive spiral strip mine where the Beast Titan has rendered the walkways around almost completely useless, and falling from the height you are at would be quite fatal. This Rotom can't save you like the Scarlet and Violet one can. The best way to get down and get through the various parts of this dungeon would be the Rotobike, grinding on the railcart tracks that litter the place. A lot more platforming this time around rather than puzzles or stealth, as you switch between the four forms to reach different areas, making your way safely down the mine. Forgive me, I've been playing a lot of Tears of the Kingdom and it feels like this is exactly how the area would work, kind of similar to the Goron area of the game. Now obviously you'd find this game's fossils here, but in the next Astara video we'll talk about that because it's a bit different this time around. But other Pokemon you could find here are some good old-fashioned bat Pokemon like the Zubat line, Genorak and their family, Numvote and Lampiluca, as well as Little Wombar and Wombullet. But let's now talk about a new free stage line. So I was having trouble with what to make for a new free stage line. I wanted something rocky, and through my research I stumbled upon the Dogtooth Spa Crystal, a type of quartz, and they can turn into these cool geodes and come in all shapes and sizes. So I wanted to get a little weird with it, and obviously I went so literal with the Dogtooth part of the name for our first form, Sparth. Sparth I wanted to start out very rock and roller, a creature with kind of holes for eyes, and came out almost gnome-like, but mainly I wanted it to look like a canine tooth out of the mouth, with the little feet being the underparts of the tooth. Kinda shiny, but also kinda dirty, Sparth is the kind of Pokemon you'd find en masse, buried under the ground, with their little heads showing to look like teeth coming from the ground. Sparth, the Dogtooth Pokemon, a rock type. Sparth live within caves and are built up from years of erosion, where they break off from their cave and begin their life. Sparth are exceptionally sharp and use this to their advantage to dissuade predators. In ancient Astara, people used Sparth as weapons, even placing them upon long sticks to use as spears. Sparth bodies are hollow and will sometimes have stones fall into them, which lead to a pleasant rattling sound as they walk. Although if you're spelunking, be wary of stepping on a Sparth and keep an ear out for the raucous rattling of Sparth. Sparth's ability is sturdy. I don't know if you've ever seen this image of Pac-Man before, but this is the inspiration for this next Evo. Based primarily on a Geode this time. Geomor is the cocoon of the Evo line, but much more horrifying. The center eye now sits eerily inside of the primary formation, and has this almost dinosaur spines and tail sticking out of it. This would be one of those Pokemon that work like Lamora. Their head's just lodged in the walls of Tectonia till you get close, then they try to drop on you. Geomor, the Geode Pokemon, a rock type. Geomor may look quite scary, but they are merely formed that way. Although exceptionally sharp, they are stationary, so it's best to just try and not approach them. It is best to try and think of Geomor as a cocoon that is slowly forming its final form inside. Taking a look inside of Geomor shows a swirling void of darkness. If Geomor really needs to move or attack, a dark hand may emerge from the void and assist with battle or movement. Sometimes Geomor are found wedged into walls and can be assisted, and they'll never forget the kindness you provided. Geomor's ability is sturdy. For Pastelspire, I really wanted to show that the dark energy within Geomor coming out, and is slightly based off of golems, but really I just wanted to make a cool crystal monster design that would hang from ceilings by using the heavy bludgeon on their tail, and use those big mitts to bat off enemies, and when worst comes to worst, it scurries back into the main Geode shell on its head. Pastelspire is kind of Erie's just for Erie's sake, but much like Minmalgamate, it's a misunderstood Pokemon and doesn't want to hurt intruders too much. Just spend time taking care of the young Sparth instead. This line isn't the pseudo of the game, but shares a type with the pseudo. Hint hint for much later on. Pastelspire, the Geode Pokemon, a rock and ghost type. Pastelspire formed a body of rock and quartz that make it quite dangerous, but it's a passive creature that would prefer to be territorial and dissuade any trespassers through its unsettling appearance. Pastelspire can float short distances, so it will create dens over difficult to cross crevasses, where it will take care of various Geomor till they are ready to evolve. Because of the unique formation of their tails, Pastelspire will use it as a bludgeon, but also will lock it into rocks and hang precariously. If something approaches, it will drop down in a cheeky effort to try and spook the target. Pastelspire's ability is sturdy and clear body. By Tony Hawk's pro skating all the way to the bottom inner sanctum, it's where you'd be met with two large roars. But neither of them sound like the roar you'd hear moving throughout the entire mine. But nonetheless, two titans stand before you, and the only way to get to the true titan is through them. Just like the movie We're Back, so is fossil Pokemon. I don't know, I wanted to bring up We're Back. Anyway, let's start with the king. Originally this was going to be the only beast titan. I liked it, but it just wasn't shocking enough. Each of the beast titans feel a lot weirder, so instead I decided to keep it, but just have it as a regular Astaran form of the fossil. It's fluffier and leans more into the idea of the feathered dinosaur. I wanted to give it this sort of more primal look as if it's only just coming out of the cave. Slightly more upright too, so it can really just use those powerful legs and tails to beat down its foes. It no longer has the rock type and instead is part fighting type. Tyrantrum, the Despot Pokemon, a fighting and dragon type. Tyrunt evolves into Tyrantrum while underground at Tectonia. Found within the mines of Tectonia, this form of Tyrantrum is incredibly powerful and territorial, willing to stomp and crush anything that will get in its way of its goal. It has tiny hands but advanced musculature that it uses to clear out rocks and will even use the boulders it cleaves as projectiles towards aggressors. This form can be found naturally underneath a star. Although we originally thought this was a Beast Paradox Pokemon, but lack of Ultra Energy detected on their bodies show this may just be a natural progression. This form of Tyrantrum has the ability Dragon Mantle, which each turn has a chance to increase the power of their Dragon type moves, and a chance to decrease the power of their moves that aren't Dragon type. With the Tyrantrum in mind, the second one became a bit of a what if. What if Archeops managed to survive but became a cave-dwelling creature instead? Adapted less for short flight and more for climbing any surface quickly, and simply leaping between them instead. I adore Archeops, so I wanted to do something for it. Sort of like a basilisk lizard crossed with a feathered dinosaur and a snake as well. As well as slight Aztec vibes, I really enjoy how this one came together as this sort of strange version of Archeops. Getting the dragon and ground type instead for very obvious reasons. It'd climb around the cave walls, hunting Numvert and other delicious morsels. I wanted a less vibrant palette for the colours, more so going towards whites and blues. But it lives in the icy cool caves down below here, so that's why it's blue. But why are there icy caves down below? Archeops, the first bird Pokemon, a ground and dragon type. Archeops evolves from Archon while underground at Tectonia. Found within the mines of Tectonia, this form of Archeops cannot fly, but have adapted to be able to run and scale most forms of terrain with ease. Has a soft feathery body that keeps its bright white look even in the dusty caverns below, and keeps it warm. This form can be found naturally underneath a Stara, although we originally thought this was a Beast Paradox Pokemon, but lack of Ultra Energy detected on their bodies show this may just be a natural progression. Archeops has the ability All Terrain. This Pokemon is unaffected by terrain whether attacking or being attacked by an opponent. So this would be a mini-boss. Tyrantrum would dash madly across the arena much like Beast Magikarp. You could dodge it by riding the rails on the outside of the arena. The only way to deal damage to them would be ramming them at high speeds with the Rotom Bike. Meanwhile, Archeops would jump around various pillars outside the arena, crawling around the pillars and then launching sharp feathers at you, and then sometimes dropping down to quickly claw at you. You'd have to do the same to Archeops, or full speed ram into them to shut them up, but you'd have to ride the pillars up to reach them. Like Ornstein and Smode, depending on who you took out first, the other would change up their tactics. Tyrantrum would destroy the grind rails and keep running, but drop large boulders and stalactites down on you, and even do tail whips you'd have to try and jump over. While Archeops would fire off pulses of dragon energy that would track and chase after you. Once the two were defeated, sulking, there would be a powerful roar that would cause the arena to change and our two mini-bosses to run and hide, for the true Beast Titan is here. The old galar fossils, we love them, and we hate them. Partly because there's no completed versions, and partly because they are the most beautiful affront to nature to exist. So my idea was simple. What if they were all combined together? I mean, if some hack scientist can create some combos for a 10-year-old, surely Ultra Space could combine them all together to create a living abomination. Of course, this Pokemon would be a bit up in the air about its true classification. It has a name and isn't just a Beast Paradox form. It would be the only Beast Paradox that couldn't Beast Shift into its original Pokemon, and would be incredibly hard to find. Although you'd be able to create one if you could get enough fossils. I wanted to try and include as much of each of the known parts of the fossils as I could. That meant trying to include the two heads. This gave me the fun idea of what I originally thought Arctivish was. I thought this was its mouth, and back there was some kind of pattern. So I turned it into that in Arctroval. But also its other mouth isn't a pattern here, and horrifically opens up to have another head of the Zolt family, but much more menacing. The Arctidrac parts of the body actually served as quite a nice combo, to be honest, and helped really make this quite the statuesque menace. I really love how both goofy and unsettling this turned out to be. In the end, I messed with the perspective a bit to make it look a little taller and menacing, and in the end it turned out quite scary. Arctroval, the fusion Pokemon, a dragon, rock, electric, ice and water type. Still unknown, even through tests, we cannot conclude this is a Beast Paradox Pokemon. Further testing required. It has a terrifying mean streak and is backed by a multitude of elemental energy coursing through it. Anything the original Pokemon had is amplified in Arctroval. It did lose some ability in that swimming and various movement is more stilted, but it hunts with powerful blasts of energy and has no need for chasing prey. This beast is terrifying and unreasonable, a 5-star threat. Arctroval has the new ability Ancient Amalgam. This Pokemon randomly changes its secondary type between rock, electric, ice, and water at the start of its turn. The switch is weighted towards the super effective type against an enemy. It can never stay the same type at the beginning of its turn, however. Arctroval has a new signature move called Amalgam Pulse, a 120 base power, 5 PP, 80 accuracy move. The user unleashes a blast of various energies that ends in one final assault. The type of this move will be either Dragon, Ice, Water, or Electric type. Depending on the type, the opponent would be most weak to. The actual battle against Arctroval would be waged against multiple different platforms, sitting precariously over chasms. During the battle, it would shift its type and unleash different attacks on you, as you'd have to make your way up to the actual battle arena where Arctroval awaits. As you ride Rotom Bike up to it, bolts of lightning and draconic energy would surge out at you that you'd have to avoid, that would send you flying back to the start if hit. Once there, you'd fight them face to face to try and take about a quarter of their health bar each time. But Arctroval would surround themselves in ice, and it'd be a lot like that Dingodile fight in Crash Bandicoot, where the ice surrounds it and you'd have to avoid blasts of water from below and blasts of lightning from above as it chases you down with them, till it shoots a beam of dragon energy out to destroy the ice. Then you could quickly and precisely dash through with the Rotom Bike and slam into it, damaging a large portion of its health. The final part of the battle would see Arctroval completely weakened, and requiring one final blow as you desperately drive the Rotom Bike across falling pillars, just making it, and then slam straight into the stupid second face of the beast. No Pokemon battles here this time, too much action. But with Arctroval captured by the research team, the mines are once again silent, except for the two rather large ex-fossil mons. But they're thankful and seem to be happy that Arctroval is gone, and will live peacefully within the mines. But we aren't done with Tectonia yet, oh my no. The top plateau may be empty now, but in a few days, thanks to the quick building efforts of Fiona, there's a very special building being placed on top of the plateau. I love saying plateau. Great plateau. But that's all for another video. We'll let Fiona and the rest of the crew work, and maybe soon we'll be able to find some fossil mons. So that's the video. Comment down below what you thought of the video and the various mons that made their debut here. And chuck a like and a sub if you enjoyed the video and want to see more. Next video I think it's time we have a Beast Paradox extravaganza. It made me really happy to see people love Beast Paradoxes as much as I love creating them. So expect to see some older Pokemon get Beast forms, and some Astaran Pokemon too. Thank you all so much for watching and for the support as well.
And Meatwad needs to learn some morals and values.
Look at him and tell me there's a god. He made me in his own image.